So in just a second, I want to play you a clip from the Supreme Court where a Republican lawyer just argued openly, frankly, that they cannot win without voter suppression.
What's the interest of the Arizona RNC here in keeping, say, the out-of-precinct ballot disqualification rules on the books?
Because it puts us at a competitive disadvantage relative to Democrats. Politics is a zero-sum game, and every extra vote they get through unlawful interpretations of Section 2 hurts us. It's the difference between winning an election 50 to 49 and losing an election.
Okay, thank you. My time is up.
50.
And so that was a question from Amy Coney Barrett. It's during the portion of the trial where all of the Supreme Court judges can ask questions of lawyers on both sides. And this pertains to a case from Arizona. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details, but basically, as is usual, Republicans want to make it harder to vote. Democrats want to make it easier to vote, or in general, don't want to allow Republicans to make it harder to vote. And so that's what this case is about. And Coney Barrett, as a conservative, again, put on the court by Trump, I think is trying to ask this question of this lawyer to sort of give him a way to talk about integrity. That's the thing Republicans will use when they're on message with voting. It's not about making it harder to vote. It's about giving people confidence in the voting system. It's about giving people assurances that, everyone that gets counted deserves to be counted. Everyone that wants to and is able to, should be able to vote as long as they are, provably eligible to vote and all these sorts of things. And that we only put restrictions in to ensure that, we get an accurate count. That's the argument. But here he goes ahead, guys. He goes ahead and says it. We want to make it harder to vote. We don't want to allow restrictions to be removed because it puts us at a competitive disadvantage relative to Democrats. Politics is a zero-sum game, and if you make it easier to vote, or if you don't allow us to make it harder to vote, or a combination of the two, the Democrats will win and we will lose. This is him admitting that they cannot win, or that it would be almost impossible for them to win if everyone that wanted to vote got to vote. That's the Republican Party here. That's a GOP lawyer at the Supreme Court. On the record, we cannot win if every working class person, every black person, every young person, every Hispanic person, every marginalized person actually got to vote unimpededly. That's what they're saying. And look, this isn't necessarily the first time this has happened. And Donald Trump, going back to March of 2020, said, the Democrats, if they get in, they're going to pass all this legislation and they're going to make it so easy to vote. There's going to be levels of voting you've never seen and we'll never win again. Trump basically saying, look, if voting rights increase, voter turnout will go up. And if voter turnout goes up, Republicans lose. That's usually the case. So Trump is basically saying, keep me and the Republicans in power, or the voting masses will remove us. That's the argument. That's basically the argument. We can't win without, tilting the field in our favor overwhelmingly. So we can never lose, because if we lose once, they might actually balance the field and then we'll never win again. Ben Shapiro has said similar things, like why would Republicans support voting rights policies that make it harder for them to get elected, even if it means more people get the vote that want to vote? And the whole point here is you see the Republican hatred for democracy. Democratic Party isn't perfect, we know that, but he's saying here, politics is a zero-sum game. And I get it, in a two-party system, one party wins, one party loses. But democracy isn't a game. It's a fundamental expression of your rights and opinions and beliefs and hopes and fears and these sorts of things. It's not a game. It's not a soccer match. It's not a football game. It's a system that's essential to a functioning society. And so it's not zero sum. Politics gets better when everyone that wants to have a voice can have that voice. That's the right approach. So this is yet another example, guys, another example of why people like Manchin and Sinema need to smarten the heck up. They really, really do. They've said they want to keep the filibuster. They've said that they want bipartisanship. They said that they want a cross-the-aisle compromise. But this is a party admitting it cannot win unless it stops the other party's voters from voting. It's a zero-sum game. So it's good for them to make it harder for people to vote. That's what they're saying. And so when Manchin and Sinema support the filibuster, it makes passing the Voting Rights Act, H.R. 1, that will probably pass the House, but, won't get through the Senate because of the filibuster. It makes it impossible. And so if these Democrats want to save democracy and ensure that every person that wants to vote gets to vote, they have to do it by breaking the filibuster, even if only on the issue, the vital issue of voting rights. Republicans are enemies of democracy. You cannot be bipartisan on a question of whether black people and other marginalized people should vote or not.